Hello there, Abigail. It's been a while since we've done one.
I know.
You've vanished.
I
I've been
know.
slogging away by myself.
In the trenches of podcasts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was telling you yesterday, I was looking at the stats on Spotify. I'm like, and I don't often do that because it's just not very encouraging.
Oh.
And, you just do the thing and put it away and don't look at it. And I thought, oh, I'll check it out. And it's like all the podcasts with you and me are at the top. And all the ones that are much harder work, where you're interviewing like someone and you have to edit them better, and those aren't even in the top 10. So if the algorithm's correct, that's really weird, because it seems like you folks like to listen to me and Abigail just ramble on about
our 5 topics.
Yeah, our 5 topics, which is...
What are we going to do with our lives? How to raise kids? Relationships? What are we going to do with our lives? And back round again.
Yeah. Going through rooms, cleaning.
Yeah. Walking through rooms, breathing oxygen.
Yeah.
Thinking that we're having exciting lives. Big thoughts.
It seems like folks like that more than some in-depth conversation about ayahuasca or...
Yeah. Tearing a strip out of Coldplay.
Yeah, I know. I guess that's why, like, you could make like a fancy movie, right, with millions and millions of dollars and all of the special effects, and it would do so well. And then you can make a reality show where you're literally just following people around, and people want to see the reality show over
It's like the Blair Witch Project of podcasts.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's like people like to feel like they can relate, I guess. Like, that's why reality shows are so popular, maybe.
Yeah. Cheap, popular, easy.
My 15-year-old is, I don't know if she's 14 or 15, I can't remember. But she's watching like Love Island or something at the moment.
Really?
Oh my God.
I hope you're going out. Dysfunction, codependency, never gonna last.
Oh man, like, I can't believe that Chris Williamson from the Modern Wisdom podcast did that. I mean, it is like the pinnacle of idiocy. Like,
really, he's come a long way.
Yeah, it's like, I watched it for like about a minute while I was brushing my teeth, and it like over her shoulder, and it's just bottom of the barrel. Like,
really,
I kissed her in the bathroom. You didn't. Oh my God. And it's like, you lose money. I think if you're like, this one that she was watching is like, you have this, I think there's a chunk of money that you can win, or a couple can win. And the more you screw up and start flirting with others and all of that, then the
pot gets
you start
reduced.
to lose. Yeah, you made out with someone else's partner in the bathroom. You lost $6,000, and then the other partner's all pissed, and there's just all this, like, it is just childish, horrible drivel.
Amazing, and she's really into it.
I guess so. It's just kind of, it's really bubblegum, right? Like, it's like eating ice cream or something. Like, it's surfacey.
Yeah.
I went into some lady's house the other day to look at a kitchen, and I couldn't believe it. I walked in and she was watching reruns of Jerry Springer.
Serious? Oh my gosh, that was just drama.
And it was so loud that I could barely hear myself, like, hear her talking. I'm like, you're not going to turn the TV. I didn't say this, but in my head, I'm like, you're not going to turn the TV down. I had a hard time concentrating on the job at hand, because I just couldn't believe that she was watching absolute shite on television.
Yeah.
Reruns.
That's like the judge jury, where they have those trials that go on TV, and it's just nothing but ghetto drama. That's what kind of Jerry Springer's like. It's kind of ghetto drama, isn't it?
It just makes me feel yucky. Like, I'm like, don't you feel gross after watching that? Like, I feel like it's like watching pornography or something.
Yeah. It's an offense to your eardrums.
Yeah, and also like an embarrassment to be human in a way. Like, you're looking at it thinking, oh, I'm embarrassed about, like, the humans actually act this way and get off on, like, throwing stuff at each other. And then the crowd are, like, wanting a fight, right? So it's like watching, like, MMA without the blood.
Yeah.
And the crowd are like, fight, fight, fight. And it's like, oh my God, guys, you exist on this planet?
Human behavior.
Yeah.
Like, right down there.
But there are millions and millions of humans that actually like that. Like, you'd probably find those people on, like, a council estate where they're all up in each other's business, and the drama feeds, you know what I mean? And like,
So judgmental. My kids were like, "You're
oh
so
yeah,
judgy." We're
oh
about
my.
count. This can happen anywhere. It doesn't have to be a council estate.
We were in Tofino, which is, if you don't know BC, guys,
Yeah.
it's like the mecca for surfing in British Columbia. And we're on the beach, and my kids are constantly, Dad, you're so racist. Oh my God, you're so racist. And I'm like, it just fuels me more to be more.
Provocative.
I would call myself a fake. I'm not racist at all. I just like poking the bear,
Mm,
because I just think that this race stuff is so. There's so much bullshit in it.
right.
It's like I'm just calling a spade a spade. Like I'm just being honest about the reality.
Yeah.
Like we want
Totally.
who knows who's going to get on here and start saying you can't do that. So Tara and I are like, we're thinking about making a store on the farm, right? Like a proper store. And she's on the beach with her notebook. She's like, okay, let's plan. And as soon as she says let's plan, I tighten up because I hate planning. I'm like, I've just
Yeah.
got to unravel it all in my head, and then I'll
Mm,
deliver to you the solution.
mm.
But Tara likes to plan, and for some reason I get my back up a little bit because it just, I don't know, there's this funny thing that happens in me. So I said, oh well, Abigail makes these cool like clay teepees, and you put a candle on them. We've got one in our bathroom, right? And
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it looks so cool. And she's like, no, we can't have that. And
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
know.
and I'm
Yeah,
like,
it would be
here.
it would be cultural appropriation.
So Jasmine's there, my oldest daughter, right? And she's Métis. She's half First Nations or Native, or I don't
Yeah,
even know
she's
what.
native. Get her to make it.
No, because my ex-wife is
Mm,
Métis, and I've done 10 years of hard labor on reservations working with First Nations. Like
mm.
just gave my heart and soul to them, right? So I feel like I have a leg to stand on, and
Yeah.
I'm like, so I just like the conversation just went like I was like I was like, this pisses me off because I'm like, we're basically taking a piece of native art, which is a teepee or a wigwam, whatever you call it. I don't even know the right way to call it. And we're saying, this is really cool.
We're celebrating it.
We're celebrating it. And the way she was looking at it was like, we have no right to celebrate or even talk about them. Even talking about them is like, it's like holy ground. You can't go there.
Right. We have
And
no right to
yeah,
do
and I
that.
just think it's, so people can make fun of British people all day long. We got bad teeth, we had limey, or whatever we might be, right?
Or redheads. Redheads have never been defended.
Yeah,
Redheads will
definitely.
forever be taken the piss out of.
And I just think that it's absolute shit. Like it really
Yeah.
pokes me in the wrong way. And I was out fishing last night, and my neighbor, we were talking about it, and we were just saying how. So what he said was like, he was telling me a story. So he was in Surrey, Vancouver, with his wife years and years and years ago. And he was driving somewhere with his wife in his truck, and the cops were following him. And he's like, "What's going on here?" And the cops, all of a sudden, a minivan was coming at him in his lane, and he's like, "Holy shit, what's going on?" And then it turned out it was an undercover policeman, and this huge black guy got out and pointed the gun right into his window. And my neighbor Kevin is like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And his wife's in tears. And it was right outside the cop station because he was taking a shortcut through the cop station, which isn't illegal. And they were swarmed by like 20 police officers. They all came running out of the precinct, guns blazing, threw him against his car, handcuffed him, put his wife in the cruiser, did all this stuff. Turns out they got the wrong number. They didn't read the license plate correctly.
Right.
And
Wow.
so Kevin was pissed and got
Mm.
right in the face of this cop. And this other cop said, you don't want to do that, And he ended up getting a formal apology from the police. So fast forward like 5 years later, there was this like Black Lives Matter movement was happening and all this, and all of this. There was this chatter on Facebook Marketplace, on Facebook, and these people were saying how they felt marginalized, like singled out because they were black people, and the cops were, just the comments were just reams and reams, and it was this police event that happened, and they felt like they were singled out because they were colored. And so Kevin got on the chat and explained his story, but didn't share that he was white, and the story just exploded. Oh my God, fuck those cops, they're just like, and he just let it go. And the comments were just like hundreds of comments, people just losing their minds. And then he jumped on like 2 days later and he says, oh, I forgot to mention I'm white. and the whole conversation just went,
Really?
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And it just seems like the same crowd as that watches Jerry Springer. They just like love this. They're just jumping on whatever bandwagon. It's the same with
Mm,
climate change. It's the same with
yeah.
all of it. And I'm just like, what frustrates me is you can't have, like, when I was talking to my wife about it, is like, I just want to have a conversation
Mm,
about how mad this is. And her reaction was more like just closing off and just retracting from the whole thing and saying, this is just a bad idea. We're not going to talk about this anymore. And I'm
right.
like, the fact that we can't talk about it is what really ticks me off. It's like, we can't have just a logical, because it doesn't seem logical. Is it just a
Well, there's so many
logical?
landmines that people just stay well away because they don't know what's
Yeah.
going to get into trouble.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Mm.
And I've
And
done
what was
years on,
Jasmine? I'm
she
curious to
was,
know what
she was
Jasmine's.
like, Dad, because she's got lots of Native friends, and I don't even know the right words, First Nations.
Yeah.
Aboriginal friends, and she's like, Dad, they don't care,
Mm.
you know. And
Well,
and
it's
so
us, it's white people that care.
yeah, I
If
mean,
you
I've
went
been
to
on
First Nations and said, "Do you mind if I do a clay teepee that's a tea light feature?" They'd be like, "Have at it." Probably.
yeah. So I should go
It's the one.
if I went into another community and they had a Union Jack,
Mm,
and I'm like, you're not from England, get that off your shelf.
mm.
The reason I can't say that is because British people haven't been persecuted,
Oppressed.
right? So I can't say that. And I
No.
wouldn't say that, and I don't care. I'm like, you're celebrating my country. That's awesome. That makes me feel good. And
Mm,
I spent months and months on reservations and they make fun of themselves all the time. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Smoke Signals.
no.
Oh, it's such a good movie. It's like,
Really.
it's First Nations people making fun of themselves,
Right.
but it's got a really deep message. It's about a guy who loses his dad, and they have to go, and his dad always wanted him to sprinkle the ashes at this certain location. So this guy and his brother leave the reservation and go on this long drive, and the whole movie is about their kind of conversations talking about their childhood.
Mm,
And it is so funny. And I would when we were running teams up to, Northern Ontario and stuff, I would show that movie before we went. And it was like things like these girls were like driving around the res, but in reverse the whole time because their forward gear was broken. So they
yeah.
just did it all backwards. And they're just cruising on a Saturday evening in reverse, And there's this one part where because some of the reservations are really rural, and there's this one and a lot of them have their own radio station.
Okay.
Because when we went, we used to me and Ryan or whoever I was with, we used to jump on. Anyone could go and show up and just do a piece on the radio.
That would be so
So
fun.
if you had a load of firewood that you wanted to sell, you would just drive by the Radio Shack, jump in there, no one's in there, just, hey, I've got a load of wood, anyone want it for sale? Or I remember some people, because you're so far from the middle of nowhere, you can't pick up any radio stations, so all the vehicles have that radio station on.
Right.
And the guy's like, oh, I just ordered a pizza and I got 2 slices, $3, come get them. Or can someone give me a ride to the airport?
That's brilliant.
So we would go on there, white people, and we would do these like really fun shows. Like we would do music, we would play guitar. We'd have I remember me and Ryan would go early in the morning sometimes and do like a cooking show. So we'd just take some empty pots and pans and pretend to be making scrambled egg.
That's
And they had never had anything so elaborate, right? Usually it's just people mumbling on, reading the Bible.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And we would do call in now and win a bag of candy, and all these kids would call in, and there would be a crowd outside the radio station. Oh, I loved it. It's kind of like doing this, but live.
I mean, how about being a DJ? That must be so fun in that community where everyone knows everyone. And so there's sense of belonging when you listen to it. So fun.
Oh yeah, and people would call in and they know you, right? And they're giggling and laughing, and we would do like birthday, happy birthday. And for them, no one had ever done it that elaborately. It was just really droll. And so anyway, on Smoke Signals, they have this radio station, and it's basically this guy on a trailer who's living and he's got like a satellite, and everyone tunes into the radio. And so the DJ is like listening to some music. And he's like, let's go to Harry up on the road there. He's going to give us the weather forecast. And Harry's got a deck chair on top of and this is so, if you've been to these reservations, this is so what it's like. And that's why I just love it,
Yeah.
right? And there's this guy sitting on his lawn chair on top of his trailer. He's like, "Hey, Harry, what's the weather forecast today?" He's like, "Oh, there's a cloud in the sky. Looks kind of like a horse. Here's another one who looks like the waitress at Denny's. Holy." He goes, "All right, well,
Brilliant.
that's the weather. What's the traffic?" He's like,
A waitress at Denny's.
"What's the traffic report?" And he goes, "John just passed by in his truck and his wife. Looked like they were fighting. That's about it." All right, let's play another song. And that is so
That
much
is
what
life
it's
on the
like.
reservation.
Oh yeah, some of the rural ones, and I love it. It's so
That's
awesome.
so.
That's a
I
great
think
song.
what when in talking to my kids, what I'm trying to figure out is they'll accuse me of being really judgy, and I can't figure out what is the difference between being judgmental and having an opinion. Am I not allowed an opinion? Is that always considered to be judgmental, or is it in fact judgmental? Because I think you and I are very strong. We have lots of strong opinions, and to me, there is. Like, I suppose I would look at someone who's judgmental and be like, oh, I don't like the look of that person. They've got a very unsavory look about them, and judge someone's kind of, my idea of being a judgmental is being close-minded and having this suspicion of others. And I don't know, it's really difficult because I think people with opinions are interesting people, far more interesting than people without opinions. And there's a fine line between that being considered critical and judgmental. I really enjoy listening to someone who's got a strong opinion about something, and I don't see anything wrong with that. But where does it slip into, oh, that person's so judgmental, oh my goodness, they're so critical of other people? I haven't figured it out yet, but it's a conversation that I'm starting to have with the kids, because they've always said, "Mum, you're literally the most judgmental person we've ever met." I'm like, how? I want to know. Also, I'm probably the most
Understand.
interesting person you ever met, because I've got something to say about everything. If someone sits still long enough, I'm going to say something about what I see. Is that a
Yeah,
problem?
I mean, it's a lack of self-censoring, right? Which is actually just internalizing all your thoughts, which is actually bad for you.
Right.
I mean, my issue too is that the humor has been taken out. Like, people have no problem making fun of an English person, right? You got bad
No.
teeth, you talk funny, you eat fish and chips,
Tasty.
and and I laugh at it. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
funny. Doesn't offend me
Yeah.
in the slightest.
But
And
then
I'm
people
like,
would say that's all very
you need,
well for you to say. We've run the show forever and a day, and we've
right?
dominated and colonialized the world, so we should be able to take a
Exactly.
joke. So that would be the rationale for why you should tolerate people taking the piss out of you.
Yeah, but then you take Belinda, black as black can be, one of my close friends, and she's going to be on a podcast soon with us, and we make fun of each other's cultures all the time. And I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she never got offended. We just used to laugh about it because she knew that I loved her. And I wasn't racist in the slightest. We were just seeing the funny side of each other's cultures.
Yeah.
And also the
And
funny
texted
side
everything.
and the craziness of racism. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so ludicrous and silly.
But I was watching last night on Netflix, there's a new documentary that's come out about Hurricane Katrina. Obviously, New Orleans is a huge black population, and what they experienced at that time was being on the roof of their homes with, big writing on their roofs, please, save us, SOS, seeing helicopters pass by, and then those helicopters would go straight to the white community to rescue them and leave the black community literally to die. And the media would take a photo of one person who had gone into a grocery store and they were looting. That was what black people were doing. And then the white people leaving with bags of groceries were providing for their family everything they could get their hands on because they were starving. And so there was this huge disparity in how black people were being portrayed in the media and how white people were portrayed. And both of them were in this catastrophic situation, and some were being rescued sooner than others. And the media was, I remember, because I'd never done a deep dive into Hurricane Katrina, but I remember from what I saw in the media, it turned into mass looting and basically decent human behavior deteriorated very quickly. But that's what was framed on social media as, or at the time it was the news, as what was going on. That wasn't going on at all. When you actually see the webcam for, the camera footage, it was 4 days of no food and water. Finally, they start finding stores where they can go and get water for their children. People were dying of dehydration. And it wasn't looting. It was literally, we're dying here. Oh, our government's left us behind. They've forgotten about us. We don't matter. And the army came in with firearms, and it became this kind of military operation like an Iraq war scene. Because everyone was feeling that, in New Orleans, it's deteriorated into a looting and violence scenario. And that wasn't actually what was going on at all. It was like sheer desperation. So I can see, like, in listening to that story, obviously people's lived experience in a lot of these situations has been kind of horrendous. Yeah.
And I'm not in the slightest saying that there's no racism. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I dated way before Tara, I dated this woman from, was it Iran? Someone like that. And she was, Canadianized, like full on, like didn't have an accent at all. But she looked like she was Middle Eastern, right? And she said, yeah, when I go to the border, she was a doctor. And she said, when I go to the border, I get pulled in every time because, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Or like, folks that have to wear a turban, they completely, if you go to the border, you're for sure profiled different than a straight white person, which must be awful. Like I get hassled at the border when I go to America every single time because I overstay my visa by a month.
Yeah.
And it's humiliating. I feel like I'm singled out for some, which in my opinion seems so small. I know it happened when I was 18 or 20
Isn't
years
that
old.
amazing?
So I can't imagine what it's like to be a person of color, or wearing a turban or whatever it is, and for sure people looking at you differently.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because I went to the beach with my Saudi Arabian friends. So they're from Dubai, India, and Saudi Arabia. And they're talking about those countries and how incredible they are, tax-free. Everyone's wealthy, certainly in Dubai and in Saudi Arabia. It's a life of opulence. And I keep saying to her, why are you here? Why choose Canada? And, they told me in the past because a Canadian education is still revered internationally, like worldwide. The West is still put on a pedestal, even though the education they could receive in Saudi Arabia is as good, if not better. If you come back into Saudi Arabia and you've had a Canadian degree or an English degree or American degree, you're going to get a better paying job and you'll be put top of the heap. So there's that smokes and mirrors that the West still has it figured out, even though that's not the case. And they come here and they see homelessness for the first time and they realize this education isn't what they were told it would be. But the main reason they are coming here or staying here is because if you're born in Saudi Arabia, but your parents are from Palestine, you will never, ever have a Saudi Arabian passport, which means you always have to take your papers wherever you go, and you'll never belong. So you'll never have a paid job that's as good as a born and bred Saudi Arabian. So these people, they could live there for 5 generations. Their great, great, great grandchildren will never be Saudi Arabian because their lineage is from Palestine in the example of these friends. And so they said what creates instability is that the king and the government can overnight make a decision. You're given 3 months, you must return to Palestine. We don't want you here anymore. If any of you have a Palestinian passport, even if you were born in this country, because they all know that being born in that country means nothing. You'll never be a citizen. That on a dime, and they've seen this happen, you get sent back to your country of origin. And the same goes for Dubai. You'll never belong there if you don't belong there. And they said it creates so much instability because they've seen that happen so much, that what's unique about Canada is that they could become, once they get their PR, once they become citizens, they won't get thrown out. They will belong. And that's unique to our democracies, I guess, that you can go through that process and belong. But what they all
Mm.
said is the window's closing even here on us being able to do that. Plus, we're treated like we are terrorists. And they're so fed up of, like you say, how they look very much impacts how they're being treated. There's a lot of negative feelings about immigrants. And that's kind of escalated since
Wow.
2020. And they said, probably by the time we have children, we won't be even Canada will not be a stable place for us to belong. So they're very motivated to become citizens as soon as possible. That's all they focus on. It's like PR, citizen, belong.
Yeah.
They won't be able to cast us out because they can't go back to Palestine. That's not an option. And in Saudi
It's
Arabia
so
and Dubai, they would be sent back there to their deaths. So it
crazy.
helped give me an
Like,
understanding of what they're dealing with.
yeah, and how depraved the human race is to marginalize another person from another part of the world. Like, it's just so wild. It doesn't, I mean, I guess the writing's on the wall. We're never gonna get past this. Like, it's a human trait to be tribal. I mean, I went to Venezuela, into the middle of the jungle where there was no influence from television or media or anything, and they were tribal. Like, they had a tribe that was like, a mile down the jungle, and they had wars between them.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
they respected each other, but there was also tension.
Mm.
And it's this strange, I mean, even we have family tribe, right? Like me, I notice, like, it's just like, my neighbors, right? Like, I've got these neighbors, and I'm like, that one I can kind of talk to a little bit, but he's not so social. This one, I know I can trust him if I'm in a tight spot. This one is a bit judgy of what I'm doing, or whatever it might be.
Mm.
And you kind of make these, like, you draw these boundary lines in your head about how far you can. And so we kind of like, this is my property, this is my castle.
Yeah.
And we're just hardwired to protect ourselves, to be selfish,
Mm.
and to try and make ourselves look better than the others. I mean, that, like, what made, when Christopher Columbus landed on US soil and decided that they were better than the native people that lived there and we could make them
Yeah.
slaves. It's like, what makes you think
Outrageous.
like that?
Mm.
It's so, like, because he was a very smart man, right? Like, he wasn't like an idiot, Christopher
Mm.
Columbus. But to make people think, I don't know, it's just so weird.
That superiority, I think but that's how, yeah. And I wonder whether, interesting with your neighbors, where you make these assessments and it's kind of below thought, in as much as you're picking up on people's body language and micro gestures, trying to figure out, are they safe? Can I land here or can I not land here?
Hmm.
I
Do I
think
need to
we're
protect
making these
myself against
assessments.
this one?
Yeah, like how, and I don't know how often, obviously you can sit back and actually analyze on reflection, you're saying this, but I think a lot of this happens on an instinctive subconscious level, that when you meet someone, you're constantly assessing, can I land here? Is this a ride or die person? Is this someone who I need to make sure that they don't run, for example, I don't want them to know that I have an Airbnb because they would likely snitch on me, for example. Like,
Hmm.
who's safe to tell, to cast your pearls and say, oh yeah, we run in this and da da da, and then you're like, no, that's not the person I can. They look like the type that are rule following snitchy types, and that I'm going to be guarded. And all of this can happen within the matter of moments of meeting someone, where you're, and again, like,
Hmm.
where's judgment and where is having an opinion or assessing, can I land here? Is this safe? Let me edit my thoughts, or rather edit myself
Oh,
to
yeah.
steer away
Well,
from
now,
certain conversations.
with politics that's gotten so hot, it's the same. Like, with my neighbor, I've been here 2.5 years, and my neighbor across the road, went to see him about something, barely know the guy. Like, there's these little hints that are dropped out, like COVID comes up or whatever. And it's like, within a few sentences, we figured out we were on the same team
Okay,
as far as
cool. Yeah,
politically.
yeah, yeah.
But it was it was like animals, right? Like, animals
Mm.
see each other, like two cats will see each other, and they're like walking around and they're sussing each other out. And it's just natural. Like, can I trust this other animal? Is she going to take my turf?
Mm.
Are we going to be friends, or are we going to fight? And
Yeah.
there's all of these signals and energies that are going out, right? And I think
Mm.
it's somewhat utopian to think that we'll ever be anything like the writings, how long's the planet been around, and we're always doing. I mean, it just seems to be a part of our nature. Unfortunately, our
Yeah.
depraved
Yeah.
nature is, and maybe it's like tribe is good. I think we've been told over the last while that we can take down all of these walls, and that's what's going on in Europe, right? The un-Europeization, if that's a word, where they're
Yeah.
saying we're just a big melting pot. There's no such thing as British or Dutch. We're just
Mm.
all the same. And it's like, and then people are getting pissed off. They're like, no, I'm proud of my tribe. I'm
Mm.
proud of my flag. I'm proud of the fact that we have a different way of doing things than the British or the Germans. And it's this globalist type of mentality that we're all the same. Like, we're all the same as humans, and we all deserve the same rights as each other. But our cultures are what define us, and to say that we should throw that all in the trash, which is kind of being touted a lot, that you
Well,
can't brag
maybe
about
it's
your
been
culture.
framed that it's more civilized, that higher civilization is, where there is no differentiate. We don't differentiate. We're all, but ultimately, when things get bad, people deteriorate, like what you say. And I was listening to this podcast once about this man who studied cannibalism, and he said, sadly, humanity does not do well when it's suffering. We generally do not do well in situations where we're suffering, and we deteriorate into
Mm.
cannibalism really, really quickly. So where you've got,
Mm-hmm.
the suffering, when Stalin was, uh, mistreating his people
Starving
and
out.
food was scarce, they went to cannibalism very quickly. And he said, if you even look in our own societies where you've got people who are struggling on the breadline, you will see far more abuse, far more domestic abuse, sexual abuse, and really grim family life situations, just because they're born into struggle, and humans just
Mm-hmm.
do not do well when things aren't going well. And that was like really showcased in lockdown, where it just become this scramble for survival, and
But toilet
kind of throwing
paper.
people. Yeah. And you're like, ooh, that didn't take much for us to deteriorate into kind of being quite
No.
anarchic and scrambly
There is
in
paper
which
thin threads that are holding our society in a somewhat stable
civilized
condition,
state. Yeah.
and very, very thin, very
Yeah.
thin. Like what happened in Venezuela not too long ago, right? Where their currency just crashed, and people went to the banks and said, "We want our money," and they said, "We don't
Mm,
have it."
yeah.
It deteriorated in a matter of moments,
They
where
went into
everyone
the
all of
zoos
a
and were
sudden this
killing zoo
whole,
animals.
yeah, and this illusion that Hollywood gives you and the banks give you, if the
Right.
reality hit us about how much debt we're in, if
Mm,
all the debtors that Canada and America said, we want our money right now,
mm,
we'd, like, we're living on borrowed money, where there's no,
mm.
you know what I mean? And it would just, yeah, I mean, and that's really scary.
Well,
Because
no, they
I know
wouldn't
for
even
sure
do
my
that.
neighbor,
All you'd have to do is turn the electricity off for a week, and the whole thing would just collapse. Everything would just
yeah,
collapse. You turn the electricity off for a week.
yeah. And
It wouldn't even
I'm
need
really close
to
to my
be
one
like,
neighbor.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm really, and I think to myself, every so often, we'll be having a really great time. I don't think these dark thoughts very often, but every so often I'm like, if the electricity did go off, it would take days before our friendship turned to, hey, can we have some of your chicken? And I'm like, no, I need that chicken for my family. It would only
Mm,
take that one interaction for the whole relationship to be in the toilet. And then he would immediately go, oh, okay, then we're not giving you any water. And
yeah.
then that interaction's a matter of moments. A
Mm.
week later, fast forward, you've got barbed wire around your property. You're swearing at each other, hating each other, guns pointing at each other. Like that would take hours, if not days, to deteriorate to that kind of spot.
It
Potentially.
it could do,
Or you
but
could be generous and open up your doors and say, let's group together.
yeah, I think it goes both ways, because, for example, in the Katrina one, they said at the end of the day, who rescued the most is neighbors who literally went into
Mm,
people's homes and put the elderly on inflatable mattresses, camping beds, and it wasn't actually the military it was neighbors being neighborly. There must be a difference when you're in it all together. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting what it would take to actually go, okay, cannibalism, disaster. Is there a threshold? And before that, you're all in it together. Let's, look out for each other. And then when it's actual starvation, maybe, I don't know. But there might be
Yeah, it
phases
depends on your
of,
personality. And
yeah,
if your kids are starving, that would trigger as a parent. Like, I think I told you this Maui story, right? When the tsunami came. Did I tell you the
no,
story about Maui?
no,
Oh,
no.
you probably. So Tara and I are in Maui with our kids, and we've got a ground level hotel room. And her aunt and uncle are there as well. So Tara and I were celebrating an wedding anniversary. And so we're all in the same resort. So her grandparents said, well, her cousins or whatever said, we'll take care of the kids, and Tara and I will just go for a little drink in the tiki hut, which is like 100 feet away. So we're sitting at the bar, and the bar guy is mixing up a drink. And there's this movie screen. There's a TV screen there, and I'm like, and I see these trucks being washed over the road and all this stuff, and I'm like, what movie is this? Looks like a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And he looks up and he's like, no, that's the news, mate. And I'm like, what? And then we didn't realize that I think it's Fukushima happened, right? No, what created it wasn't Fukushima was a result of it. But remember the tsunami that hit?
Well, there was one that hit Thailand, but that was way before. That was catastrophic. It was another one. It was later, the one.
Yeah, that was the one.
Really? I feel like
I think that was the one, but Hawaii was the next spot to get hit with the tsunami. And we had no idea. So I'm like, and then all of a sudden the sirens fire up. And all these sirens go off around the island because they're used to that, because they're in the middle of nowhere. And the next stop was Hawaii. And we were like, we're on the ground floor. And so Tara's all getting all uppity, and we go back and they basically said everyone on the first four floors have to move up a level into the hotel room, so they're jostling people around. And so we get our kids up, and we go down and it's chaos in the hotel, and we go down to the elevator, and the elevator door opens, and I'm there with my kids who are tiny, and this older lady and her husband barge into the elevator, and I'm like, oh, we got kids, like, can we get in there? And she goes, no, my husband's a doctor, and walks in the elevator, and the door closes, and we have to wait for the next elevator. I was like, that was moments where she said, I'm better than you, my life is more valuable than yours, get the hell out. And I was like, whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah,
you're always going to have those types, I suppose, and then you'll have your types that are generous and humanly. But all of this, I think we do, like you say, we're kind of circling around each other, figuring out who's safe to land, who's not. And we are kind of higher primates that have that animalistic tendency. There's just no getting away from it. And it's the same when they go, who do people want to mate with? Well, women want to mate across and up, and they want them to be taller, higher IQ, earning capacity, stronger, and men want the hourglass because they know that she'll be childbearing hips and all of this stuff. And even if you don't plan to be in any wars or have children, none of those things actually matter. We're so wired to gravitate towards a certain type of genetically strong person who can give us offspring, even though we might never want children. We'll still go for that. And you can't get rid of that. And that would be seen now as kind of being prejudice in a way. Like everyone has their prejudice of who they want to be.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, and this will definitely not go over well.
There we go.
But, I'm in Tofino, it's hot beach, everyone's in bikinis, and I see, like, I'm happily married and I got kids, but I look over and I see there's a woman that's just kind of lying on a blanket on the beach, and she's so far away that I can't really make out anything about her, but all I see is this curve, right? It's like her back, and she's on her side, and I am drawn to it, and I'm observing myself, and I'm like, I'm not a pervert or what do you call it, misogynistic or well, all these things. The people would
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
as soon as I start talking about this, it like gets women agitated. And I'm like, no, all I'm doing is the same thing with the TP thing. It's like, I'm just noticing this is where my brain goes. I am attracted to that simple line. It's like this.
Hip to waist ratio.
You know, yeah, and I'm not like walking up to her and like spying on her and all that. I'm just like,
Mm.
whoa, my attention with like, there's the ocean there and there's surfing and there's all this stuff going on. And my attention is like, beep. And
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is that? You know, that is just the
Primal.
Neanderthal primate mating, you know, thing that triggers in. And I think that if you deny that that's a thing, you're in denial.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I
I'm
would
just
do the
saying
same with a
this is where
strong
my,
man. Yeah. You instantly go, oh, they could protect me. No, wait a minute. I've already got a husband. I'm already protected. Yeah, but that guy could also protect me if he's taller, stronger, broader. And I suppose that's how it works in the animal kingdom as well, is that whoever's got their mate, there's the threat of another mate coming along, outdoing them, you know, outshining them. And that other species, or not species, other people, animals of their same grouping could be a threat. You're never going to
yeah.
get rid of it. It's such a
I remember
primal thing.
this will make, yeah, it is, and I think we're in an age where we deny the conversation about that's a thing. You know, you can't. I'm just going to open my mouth and say it, even though someone might get pissed off. And I'm just saying the truth. I'm not saying that I'm like perverted and marginalizing. You know, it's like if you're covered in, like, I don't know if this is aligned with the same thing, but it's like, you know, my thing with, like, you know, swimming costumes these days, what women wear are very revealing. It's like, you might as well be wearing nothing. Like, it's wearing a thong on the beach, you know. And I thought, you got every right to do that, but don't expect a man not to notice. And while you're doing that, are you deep down wanting a man to notice? Is that a denial thing? Like, I think women are completely within their rights to do whatever they want, but to not say that, you know, the more you show, the more it's gonna, I mean, what do you think? I think,
Well, I think
it's like,
what's interesting about
if I covered my body in tattoos and then you came and looked at me and I get pissed off, what are you looking at? Like, well, you covered
yeah,
yourself in tattoos. Don't you want to be looked at?
I see it as a cultural mirage in a way, because in Europe, it's funny because I'm friends with these Polish people, and this guy I'm friends with who's 24 says chasing girls in Europe is so much better than chasing girls in Canada. And I said, tell me about that. Because he will go to Europe and spend 6 weeks just chasing girls across the continent. You know, then we went to Romania, then I was chasing in Italy, then we went back to Poland. He said, there is a chase there. You have to work. It's more interesting. It's more intriguing. And the role of the man is way more defined. Because in Canada, it's just confusion. It's just passivity. It's this, do you open the door? Do you not open the door? Are you going to get a look from a woman if you do the kind of chivalrous thing? I think men in Canada are really confused. And there's still, I don't know about England, but according to him, because I haven't been to Europe for a long time, men are still able to be men there, and they're able to chase women, and women give them a little bit of a hard time as far as you're going to have to work for it. I find women here to be quite aggressive and men to be extremely passive. So what I used to enjoy about England back in the day, it's probably stopped now, but I'd walk down the street, and if I'd made effort, you'd get all these wolf whistles from builders. Oh, I love, you know, they would actually say something.
Yeah.
And I actually really, yeah. Do you remember that? People would whistle. And then if you go,
Yeah, but growing up, like, that was,
yeah, that was just what you did. You could do that. You're like, all right, love, you're looking nice today. And considering how English
but
people
how did
are,
that make you feel, though?
I loved it. I thought it was great. It was great. It was fun. It's fun. There's nothing, in my opinion, there was nothing derogatory. I didn't find it derogatory. Now, some women would say, I don't appreciate being objectified. You know, fine. It's not for everyone. If you go further into Europe, like when I went to Italy, the men take it to another level. That's harassment. They'll wait outside a store for you to come out so they can keep following you. And then you go into another store and they wait outside the store till you come out. and they do the kind of hissing thing, and I can't understand what they're saying, but they would follow you very closely, and the Italian woman wouldn't put up with any of it. But being from England, you show up in Italy and the Italian men think, these girls don't know what they're doing, we'll just harass them. And after a while it gets a bit much.
Right.
Like, it's a lot. It is harassment. So there is a balance,
Like
but I
flies on
find in
shit.
Canada, what's that? Oh, I've got a friend
Yeah,
who
like
went down
flies
to
on shit.
Texas. Yeah, yeah. But a friend who went down to Texas, she said, oh my goodness, it was so lovely to see men being chivalrous and opening doors for me, coming up to me in a restaurant saying, you look beautiful. I just wanted to say you look fantastic, and then walk off. And she was just like bowled over by that. I would say, like, men in Canada are just deer in headlights, terrified, don't want to, maybe that's also convenient because then they don't have to be anything or do anything. They can be passive. But I think as a result, women here are incredibly forward. Like, women will hit on men here
I think,
and go, hey,
that holding the door open.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a delay.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that holding the door open and chivalry, here's a scenario that could play out here in Canada and probably in other countries too, is that a man will hold the door open for a woman and she'd be like, why do you think I need the door hold open for me? I can hold it open myself.
Yeah.
It's like this, we're all equal, the same. And it's like, yeah, we are all equal. We just have different roles. Like, my nature is to provide. My nature is natural to want to provide for my family and be be noticed as the provider. Like, the best currency you can give me and many men like me is, wow, you're so strong. I couldn't lift that. You lift. I'm so like, or it's just that's because that's when you boil it all down. All I really want is to be noticed for my strength. Do you know what I mean? Like, not in a muscular, like, but just protector. Like, I just want to be noticed as a protector. Like Gabe said the other day, we entered in on this mountain bike race. It's my first, I think the first race I've ever done on a bike park. And I was 3 seconds behind Gabe, and my son is good. And I've got a broken back. And I was pretty proud of that. But Gabe said to me, all he did is he's like, what was your time, Dad? And I told him my time. He's like, I think it was 3 or 5 seconds behind. And he goes, wow, you're only 5 seconds behind me? And I was like, yeah. And then we just carried on riding. And that stuck with me and kept playing in my mind. I'm like, it's just my son. Like, we have a very close relationship, but it's rare that someone says that to me, like says something that's like, wow, I'm really impressed. And it was just my son saying it, not my wife, not a whole crowd of people. And I was riding for about 45 minutes. And I was just noticing that my mind was playing that through and how I was riding better. Like, it just made me feel good. Yeah, the fact that he noticed that, oh, my dad's still on my tail. Like, I haven't completely lost him. I'm like this little bit of surprise. Like, wow, you lifted that? You moved that? Wow, And it's like, so that's just the natural thing. The same way I saw that curve in the woman, right?
Right, it's primal.
It's like, I just noticed that was the first thing that came up into my head. We have this inside joke, me and Gabe, because I've just finished doing our whole driveway, right? And Tara's gone. And I said to her the other day, I was like, do you think Tara will notice? Mom will notice when she comes back? He goes, nah, probably not. Because Gabe noticed. Yeah, because Gabe notices everything I do, right? He's like, wow, Dad, you moved that rock over to the other side of the farm. That's cool. Or you painted that brown instead of gray. Like, he notices it all. And I don't know if it's because he knows that I need it to be noticed or he just notices. I think he just notices. Whereas, like I finished the whole driveway. Like, it was this shambles, like piles of rocks, and I leveled it all out and did that. I brought Amelia back last night, my youngest daughter, and pull the car into the driveway, and nothing comes out of her mouth. She's just thinking about getting inside and doing her makeup. And she walks right over all the work I did, not maliciously. It's so wild how her mind thinks, right?
Yeah,
and I'm not saying every woman is like this, because it's not. You would probably notice because you're wired differently. But Tara, I think she loves I think she's so used to me just doing stuff that
Mm.
often she doesn't. And all I want, like if I'm really true to myself, and I have to deal with my own insecurity of like needing affirmation, but there's a natural thing there that where I will bust my gut, sweat my balls off, hurt myself. And what's the core reason I'm doing it? Like, what is the actual deep down? Why am I doing this? It's like, I just want to bring other people pleasure, or I want to be noticed for the work I'm doing.
Mm.
You know, I mean, that's just a natural, you know, if Gabe
Yeah.
was in the car beside me, I'd pull my light, you know, lights would come up and he'd be like, "Oh, Dad, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Look what you did." You know, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's all I needed. You don't even have to
Well,
pay
I
me.
think you and
Just
Gabe
give me
obviously
that."
complement each other well, because you probably need words of affirmation and Gabe is happy to give you words of affirmation, because that's probably something that he can dish
Mm,
out without any breaking a sweat. And so you guys probably have a really complementary relationship as far as compatibility, because he's like dishing out all day long. It's at no expense for him to compliment.
mhm,
And
mhm,
and I would say to him, as he grows older, regardless of the culture you're in, mate, open doors for women, pay compliments, and if it doesn't always land and you get a dirty look, 9 times out of 10, it will land. People will appreciate it. But we're in a culture where men have, I feel like they're also conveniently passive. Oh, I don't know, they might get insulted. It's easier to just kick back and say,
yeah, we can.
therefore, I'm not going to try. What's the point? Because I
Mhm,
guess there's that sensitivity in men that they're going to get rejected. Like, that's a big deal. Getting a nasty look from a woman because they put themselves out there, paid a compliment, and then the woman insulted them back. Like, that's going to cut deep.
mm,
At the same time, Jordan Peterson would say, man up, get used to rejection and just keep going. I don't know. I imagine that's what his take would probably be, that be generous, and this is what made an impression on me working with the Ukrainians, where they're saying, no, 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 we'll pick that up. Don't you pick that up. We'll pick up the heavy load. And what blew me
mm,
away is I haven't experienced that from a man since I lived in Canada for 18 years. My lived experience of being in Canada
mm,
is that men are sitting back going, can you do what I can do? Can you be male? Well, not really. I'll try.
mm,
But when I act like a man and be like a man, it brings out all my masculine energy, and it makes men less attractive as well, because they're not doing the strong thing.
mm,
I'm then having to do it. So why do I don't need
mm,
extra feminine in my life. I actually want, I was so impressed by how these Ukrainians actually embraced the masculine and celebrated the
yeah,
differences. No, no, we'll do that. You
yeah,
do the other thing. We'll carry the heavy load. And I felt, oh, I'm being treated as a woman. I actually find that really refreshing. And I've
mm.
overextended myself since I've lived in Canada, trying to keep up with what feels like
Trying to
men looking at me
trying to
going,
grow
come on now.
goals.
Yeah, like, come on. Can you keep
Yeah.
up with us? Can you prove to us that you can do all the same things men can do? Reality is, no, I
Mm,
can't, but I'm trying, because that's the
mm.
culture I'm in, and it brings out the worst in me. That's not how I would like to live my life, but I'm in a culture where that's expected of me. So I'll just get on with it and do that. And then you wonder why women are
Yeah, I mean,
so tough.
yeah, and we're so lost, right? Like we don't celebrate each other for for our qualities. We want everyone to be this melting pot of the same.
Yeah.
And it's just not reality. Like men can't give birth to children to babies. Men shouldn't breastfeed. You know, it's like, but we're in this age where it's being pushed, and I don't think that masculinity or femininity is being celebrated in our schools, in our, you know, like, yeah, to tap into that maleness is like powerful,
Mm,
you know, like to tap
yeah.
into that strength and that, you know, celebrating the warrior in a man. Like, what is it like if you put a bunch of women in the trenches, and I've said this before, in the Second World War, and you put a bunch of men in another trench, and the Germans are fighting you, different trenches, watch what happens. I guarantee you the women would all figure out, they talk amongst themselves and say, there's no fucking way I'm going over that wall into the gunfire. Let's dig a tunnel back. Let's get out of here. This is stupid. And the men would be like, fuck yeah, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
And
Men
they
more.
tap into this adrenaline that's completely irrational. You
Mm,
forget all the love and all of, you forget the fact you have a wife and a child and everything. I've been there.
yeah.
You can like laser focus and you know that you could potentially die. And there's this thing that happens in a man that just snaps and you're just all for one for all. We might die. Fuck it. Let's go for it. We're
Mm.
different, right?
I would think that if women were defending
I mean,
children and the
there's probably women like
yeah,
that if you watch MMA and you see these
well,
warrior women
even
that
if
beat
you
the
look at
shit out of each other. Like there's exceptions for sure.
yeah,
I'm
and in the Second
generalizing.
World War, where there were many Russian women who were fighting in the Second World War and were just kicking ass, like the Russian
Yeah, I
defense
guess so.
in the war
I guess so.
was phenomenal by
I
women,
stand corrected.
uh, but when a woman's defending her kids, watch out. But I think generally overall,
Yeah.
women aren't interested in war and they wouldn't be the first to rush in there. War is generally something men enjoy and they often want to go to war and you have to hold them back. So, but when it comes to defending children, I think
Well, I
women
think there's this
are
like,
realistic.
yeah. I mean, that was a beautiful thing about that show, The Vikings, that we all got into.
Mm,
Where there was the shield women, right? Like the shield warriors.
yeah.
And I don't know if you, like they would
Yeah.
stand, so the men would be the first, and I think it was historically correct. The men would be the first into battle, but then any soldier, any war jumped over the first line of defense, the shield warriors would be the women, and they were ready to pick up the remains of whatever got past the men
Right. Wow.
and slay them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying it's a general. I'm just saying that there's this like thing in a man, and I'm not a woman, so I don't know, but there's this thing in a man that has this like this singularity comes in where it becomes very like simplistic, dig the rock out of the hole, dig the tree root
Yeah.
out of the hole, whereas women might be like, are you sure we shouldn't just make the field over there a bit more? It looks a bit flatter and there's not so many trees, and where you kind of got this male thing where it's like, no, wait, see, this field is in front of us. And, it's just
Primal.
pushing the rock up the hill, even though there
Yeah.
might be an easier route. It's like, this is the route we've chosen. We'll do it over and over. And,
Yeah.
it's this kind of
Always.
like very primal, singular type of thing
Yeah.
that I feel triggered in me sometimes. It's like, everything else seems to blur out.
Yeah.
And it's just this one little like line that you kind of, whereas I
Well,
feel
put it
like
this
women are a
way,
lot more wide focused, like they see the color, the
peripheral.
landscape.
Well, for example, if you were in the trenches, all you'd be thinking about is being in the trenches. If I was there, I'm like, did I leave the iron on? Did I put dinner on? Are the kids going to be okay? How soon can I get back to them to make sure they're okay? Oh, I need to shoot this person. And so there would be 20 different thoughts that were layered, whereas a man can have that singular focus and everything else melts away. I would undoubtedly be thinking about everything,
Yeah.
all of my responsibilities and what's in front of me. And can I get back in time for dinner? And it just, men are
Yeah.
all in. And I think that's a quality
Yeah.
that
Tara's got like this wide
angle lens she has.
it's this
Yeah.
buggery delay on her. Yeah, she has a more of a big picture, like, like her days are like, oh, I gotta drop Amelia off at dance and I'll come back, I'll do a bit of gardening, then I'll drop Gabe off at mountain bike and I'll come back and do a bit of this and I'll do that and then I'll go to the shops. That to me is awful.
Mm,
To me, a good day is wake up in the morning, there's a load of firewood that needs chopping, and anything that gets in my way of finishing chopping that load of firewood is a pain in the ass. Whereas
right.
Tara likes a colorful day. Like, I'm going to
Right.
do this in the morning, then I'm going to drive and do that, and then I'm going to meet Jane for coffee, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to do a bit of dance practice, and then that to her is a good day. Whereas me is like, a good day for me is like one task, simple.
Yeah. Apply
You know.
yourself 100% to that one task. And if anyone interrupts it, they're getting it
Yeah.
in the neck.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's so
Can you hold on one
complimentary.
second? I mean, I just got to take a quick pee.
Well, about big decisions, I was talking to you yesterday about how, something that's really struck me is that an impulsive decision is almost always not the best decision, and an agonizing, slow roast, slow burn decision. When I look back, when you're thinking about when you've talked about your business and what to do about your business, and we've talked about kind of ending relationships and making big moves. To me, one of the markers is that long, drawn out, agonizing process of gradually whittling down, and whatever decision you make to take a jump, when it has those markers, to me, the decision you make is almost always going to be the right decision because it's not been made impulsively with any fever involved of like, got to do this now. So you agonizing over what's going on in your business and what decision to make, I think whatever leap you make will be the right decision because of how all the markers it's had. Do you know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, Abigail again has left the room. We have to figure out her technical problems. A lot of her technical problems come from no money. So why don't you share this podcast with all your friends so that we start to get a little bit of a trickle. And then we can buy Abigail some gear so we don't have this happening, because it's rather annoying. She was telling us a nugget of wisdom. I think what she was saying was that we run around in circles. I, her, me, my friends, creative types often run around in circles when we have a big decision that we know is coloring the backdrop of our life. Say like ending a relationship, getting into a relationship, moving to a new location, selling a home, getting out of your vocation, starting another, line of work. We know that there's a change abreast, but we're not embracing that change, or we're out of fear usually, because change is scary because we don't often know. It's not like the new thing comes as a presentation on a silver plate. It's often a little bit blurry, and it doesn't come into focus until you actually make the jump. And I think Abigail and I were talking yesterday, and we wanted to talk about it more here. I'm just going to see if she's coming back. I find myself in this like circular motion. I talked to a friend of mine, Adam, a lot, and he came out for tea the other day, and it was just felt like the same conversation. Like, what are we going to do with ourselves to soften this burning desire to do something meaningful? And it just seems, ever since I've met him and been here for 2.5 years, we talk about the same, lots of ideas, but not really launching. And we know that there's a burning desire to do something that would give us meaning, but nothing's really sticking. And it feels sometimes like, I remember when Adam went home, I was like, I feel this almost like this like empty dissatisfaction with where the conversation went. I was like, we did the same thing again. Talked about the same stuff. When are we going to get together and just not talk about where do you think we should go? It's more like this journey is exciting that we're on. And I got like two sides to that thought. One side is like, no, it's cool, man. Like, that's just life. Like, just talk about this. It's just normal. And then there's the critical side that's like, yeah, when are you going to move on from talking about the thing to, isn't it cool that we're doing the thing? I'm just being distracted by Abigail trying to get in. Yeah, isn't it cool that we're doing the thing and what, and just like always talking about the thing in motion. I remember when I first started my business, it was like that. Like, it was like I was in a thing, and it was just all consuming and exciting. And all I absorbed was information about that thing, to better that thing. And the same when I was trying to pursue a band, it was like just all I thought about, my singular, it's that same thing Abigail and I were talking about. Like, for me, my head, I need a singular focus. And then I'm happy. It's like when I'm on a holiday, like I just got back from a holiday, I put everything aside. Like, I don't think about work or home or anything, and I become really chill because I'm just like in holiday mode, and all my problems are kind of shelved. And that singularity makes me a much nicer person to be around. Where I'm not so nice about when I don't have a focus. And so, yeah, I guess that was the question, was like, do we just, when we know that there's that change on the horizon, do you just like shut a door and just walk through? I mean, when we moved here, that's what happened. No, it was a series of doors. It was like we put something out, like there's this Bible story about the fleece, and I can't remember if it's Jacob or who it was in the Bible, but God was saying to him, do such and such. And he's like, well, I don't know if this is a good idea. So I'm going to put you to the test, God. I'm going to put a sheep fleece out. And if there's dew on the ground and no dew on the fleece, then I'll consider it a sure thing and I'll go for it. So he puts the fleece out in the morning. There's dew on the ground, no dew on the fleece. He's like, wow, all right. Yeah, I'm still not convinced. So he says to God, I'm going to put the fleece out another night tonight, and there's got to be dew on the fleece, no dew on the ground. And he does it, and sure enough, there's dew on the fleece, no dew on the ground. And he's like, all right, I'm all in. And I think when there's a lot at stake, sometimes we need those things. Like it's a series of events that draws you to the big change. I think it's sometimes potentially reckless to go all in, put all your chips in on a story that's not complete, or a destination that's not completely figured out. And so when we moved here, it was like, we're going to put our house on the market for over what the realtors are saying we can get for it, and we're not going to compromise at all. And we did that, and the realtor says, you're not going to get that much. The market's low, interest rates are high. Good luck. And I said to Tara, who was not interested in moving at all, I said, this is our fleece. If we don't get this much, we're staying in Vancouver. Okay. And that was her out because it was a long shot, and it was my in because it was a long shot. And we got over asking. We got over that number. And so that was the first door that opened. Here's Abigail coming back, I think. And then the second door was like, okay, we're going to put an offer in on this farm. If they don't take our offer, sorry, I don't think Abigail's coming back. If we don't put the offer in, if we put the offer in and they don't take it, that's another door closed, deal's off. That door opened, and it continued like that. And that's been the story of my life, really. Push on a door, see if it keeps on opening. If it keeps on opening, you walk through it. If it closes in your face, it's probably a sign. I haven't always succeeded. I've gotten into relationships and marriages that weren't good for me. One marriage that wasn't good, my first marriage, and the doors were clearly closing, and I kept pushing and forcing. And I think that the universe will let you push. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, you really want to go through with this? Off you go, buddy. You're going to learn some hard lessons. And I've learned some hard lessons by pushing on something that should be left shut. There you are. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I'm going to keep talking because I was just telling a story. So yeah, she's frozen. So guys, I think if she doesn't come back, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for joining us. I hope we didn't tread on too many toes. I think I would say that I'm not a racist person at all. Abigail isn't at all. I was married for 10 years to a First Nations woman. Still care for her deeply. Love that culture. Love all cultures. I really do, truly. And I don't I think we're all equal. But we're all different. I think that's what I lean towards is noticing the difference in our culture, talking about the difference in our cultures, celebrating the differences in our cultures. And I think that the talking about the differences in our cultures is prickly ground for many. And my question is, why is it? I totally understand that if you have been marginalized, for sure you're going to be prickly, right? It's like if you've ever been harassed by a police officer, like I have been, when I see a police officer behind me, it makes me a little more tense because it's triggering an experience that I had. And that police officer might be a really nice guy, but I've put them all in the same pile. So I totally empathize and understand with those who have been mistreated, marginalized, and how these conversations can be triggering. I'm a bit of a rebellious person, and I like to push into territories that could be a little bit dangerous. And so there I went pushing, and hopefully it doesn't push anyone's buttons. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Abigail's gone. Thanks for joining us again. Please subscribe to our channel. Please share this with your friends. Please let us know if there's anything you prefer. Do you like these conversations with me and Abby? Do you like interviewing guests? Is there subjects you think we should talk about? Do you lose interest on certain, I have no idea. So just, if you have time, leave us a comment. If it's mean, well, maybe don't be mean. Just be constructive, and encourage us if there's an area that you feel is good, a vein, and we'll kind of follow that more. This is an act of service, I think. It's edifying to me and Abby because we're artists and we're creating something, but the true nature of, I believe, there's two halves to art, and you've heard me talk about this before. It's the creating of the art, but then it's the reception of that art. It's people's watching of the art. It's listening to the art. If it's music, if it's painting, that's the art complete, in my opinion. When someone is looking at the art and then getting feedback from that art, then the piece of art, in my opinion, is complete. And so this art is a two-way. We want to obviously be entertainment for people and for you to enjoy it. So do tell us if you think the painting is ugly and we need to go in a different direction, use some different colors, then let us know. All right. Love you all. And we'll wrap it up there. Talk to you next time.